ChrisTrains is a third-party developer for Train Simulator Classic. He's mainly known for his Dutch add-ons, such as the ICM Koplopper EMU, but since I know barely anything about Dutch railways, I will instead discuss CT's lone New Zealand-themed add-on. This is his rendition of the ADL/ADC diesel multiple unit. But first, a brief history on the real units. These things were built between 1981 and 1985 by A. Gunainen and Company for service in Perth, Western Australia. Only 10 of them were built, and each unit is made up of an ADL power car and ADC trailer car. The ADLs are numbered from 801 to 810, while the ADCs are numbered from 851 to 860. Following electrification of the Perth suburban network, the ADLs were rendered surplus to requirements. In 1993, they were exported to New Zealand along with the older ADK/ADB units. At the time, Auckland's suburban network was in desperate need of better rolling stock to replace the ageing locomotive hauled coaches that dated back to the 1940s. The ADLs and ADKs were an easy choice because they already ran on 3-foot 6-inch gauge track, so no gauge conversion was necessary. Following a major refurbishment in 2002 and 2003, just in time for the opening of Britomart Station, the ADLs remained a staple of the Auckland suburban rail scene, even as the DC and DFT/DFB class diesel locomotives arrived to haul former British Rail Mark II coaches, which were converted to SA coaches or SD cab cars. But in the early 2010s, the network was electrified, with AM class electric multiple units first entering service in April 2014. Initially, the EMUs only ran on the Britomart to Onehunga service, but by July 2015, they had taken over all suburban services north of Papakura. Western Line trains ceased running to Waitakere because the North Auckland line was only electrified as far as Swanson. There is a tunnel between Swanson and Waitakere, but passenger numbers over that section were not high enough to justify spending the money on upgrading the tunnel to accommodate the overhead wires. As for the ADLs, their final assignment was on the Papakura to Pukekohe shuttle. This operation was launched in 2015 because, at the time, the Auckland suburban electrification only went as far south as Papakura, and passengers had to change from diesel to electric or vice versa to continue their journey. The ADLs ran the Pukekohe shuttle for 7 years, not being withdrawn until August 2022. And the Pukekohe section has now finally been electrified, but at the time of uploading, the AMs are yet to start running regular services there. Props to Auckland Transport for hosting a special event in July 2022 to celebrate the ADLs and give them a good send-off. These days, the entire class is now in storage on the Glenbrook Vintage Railway, but as far as I know, their future is still uncertain. As for the TS Classic add-on, I believe this was released sometime between 2012 and 2015, but I don't know exactly when. You can still buy it from ChrisTrains' website as of mid-December 2024, and the full price is $21.20 NZD. Alternatively, you could buy the pack from Just Trains' website, and they charge $26.81 NZD for this thing. Besides the prototypical 3-foot 6-inch gauge version, you also get a fictional standard gauge version for compatibility with non-New Zealand routes, as unrealistic as it is to see an ADL running alongside, for 2 random examples, the Caledonian Railway 956 and LNER A3 steam locomotives. Installing the ADL is fairly easy, as the download is a .exe file. You'll just need to make sure the pack will be installed in the right Railworks directory. Here's how to get the units to appear on a route in the game, once you're in the scenario editor. The route that I'm on is the Hidaka main line by Union Workshop, and I reviewed this route in October 2023. In this pop-out box on the left, you'll need to click the blue box with an orange notch, called the Object Set filter. Then, a pop-out will appear on the right, and you'll need to scroll down the list until you find the ChrisTrains folder. Then, tick the middle box across from where it says Rail Simulator to get the ADL to appear in the rolling stock list on the left. Then left-click on the unit in said list and place her on the track. The ADL and ADC are modelled with accurate detail differences between them, although I was initially confused and thought the developer had mixed up the underframe detail. In any case, the control desk in the cab looks accurate as well, but you only have 2 camera positions, and you can't turn the camera around for the full 360 degrees. As the ADL add-on was made before the electrification of the Auckland suburban rail network, the unit is depicted with destination options that are now out of date. In any case, the destination display can be changed by pressing Ctrl F9 or Ctrl F10. More details on this unit's controls can be found in the manual, but as for how you access the manual, you'll get a prompt to open the folder when you've completed the installation process. The manual is available in 4 languages, namely English, Dutch, German, and French. You also get a passenger view camera. This feature is important because it allows you to see the journey from the passenger's perspective, and it's accessed by pressing the 5 key. As for the interior modelling, it looks enough like the real thing for me to give it a pass, but I think the textures could certainly be improved. And just like in the cab view, you can't turn this camera around for the full 360 degrees. As for the sounds on this unit, I think they're perfectly fine. As you would expect if you're familiar with the real units, the ADL and ADC sound distinctly different from each other due to the ADC featuring an alternator but no prime movers. Indeed, when you were riding aboard the real thing, the ADL was much louder, and you could easily hear the engines roaring away under the floor. If my research is correct, each ADL is fitted with 2 Cummins NT855 R4 diesel engines, similar to those used on the Class 158 Sprinter. The engines produce 275 horsepower each, and can get the ADL/ADC unit up to a top speed of 90 km per hour. While the horn is reasonably accurate, it's still a bit disappointing. Rather than the audio looping for however long you hold down the spacebar, you only ever get the same short blast whenever you press the spacebar. The ditch lights are also triggered whenever you blast the horn. And now, we will compare the in-game engine sounds with footage of a real ADL. The driving experience is quite interesting, even if only due to the unusual throttle and brake lever. There are 3 power notches, marked as 33%, 66%, and 100% on the heads-up display, and this unit also has an unconventional braking setup. Instead of the normal notches, like you would get on, for a random example, the Class 365 networker, the ADL just has an application position after release and lap. Once the brake pressure reaches the desired level, you'll need to set the lever back to lap, then leave it there until the train has slowed down to the desired speed. The release setting is pretty self-explanatory, and I should also mention that you can press / to switch the parking brake on or off. The driver's seat is in the centre, instead of being off to the left or right-hand sides, when traditionally, New Zealand locomotives and multiple units have used right-hand drive. For comparison, this is the cab interior of a real ADL, recorded at Pukekohe Station on the 8th of April 2022. Besides the underwhelming horn, another issue I have with the ADL in TS Classic is its lack of auto-numbering. When you place the unit on the track, the two coaches don't spawn with matching numbers, so you have to click on the vehicles and change the numbers to match yourself. Each ADL and ADC pair traditionally had 50 as the difference between each vehicle's number, which explains combinations such as ADL 802 and ADC 852, my favourite set in the class, or ADL 807 and ADC 857. There's an elephant in the room in relation to the ADL's presence in TS Classic, and that is the complete lack of any suitable routes for this unit. While we do have at least one decent Payware New Zealand route in the game, that is the Springfield to Aikens section of the Midland line in the South Island. I wouldn't mind seeing an Auckland suburban route like, for example, Britomart to Onehunga set in November 2010, when I had a cab ride back along the branch to Penrose with ADC 856 and ADL 806. For the time being, you can at least run the ADL on the other 3-foot 6-inch gauge TS routes. One such example, besides the Midland line, is the story of Forest Rail, a very charming Japanese route released in January 2015. Despite the lack of suitable routes, I can still recommend ChrisTrains' ADL/ADC add-on for Train Simulator, but not just because of my fond memories of riding aboard the real thing. The decently accurate modelling and audio are this unit's saving graces, and of course, there's unlimited potential if you want to use the unit in fictional settings. I give this thing a 6.9 out of 10.